All right, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about operators. And since I already got my screen up, let's just go ahead and get going here. Just make sure that you have XAMPP up and running. This is your virtual server so that we can run our PHP scripts. If on Linux, that is sudo /op/lamp/XAMPP and then start. Mine are already running. You may have to put in your password. If you're on Mac or Windows, you'll need to look that up for there. Okay, so let's go ahead now and let's switch back to our editor here. And what I'm going to do is add a new file. And I'm going to call this new file operators.php. Okay, and we can close our file from our last video here. And let's go ahead and open up some PHP tags. Skip down a few lines and close those PHP tags. And what I'm going to do is kind of break these apart in, how do we say it? Just different sections, or we'll do it in sections. But first, you don't need to know how this works, but just go ahead and copy along with me. We're going to create a function. We're just going to call it DD. And we'll put data in there. And so you just type the word function, then DD, and then open and closing parens, and then put data right there. And then go ahead and put these curly braces. And inside the curly braces, what we're going to do is echo a pre-tag. And then we're going to put a var underscore dump. And then data, semicolon, and then do another echo, and now go ahead and close that pre-tag. And what this is going to do is, this is actually a function. We're going to talk about functions later, but this is going to allow us to dump to the screen without having to do the, in the last video we were echoing a break tag all the time. This var dump is a way for us to dump some sort of variable to the screen so that we can see what it is. It'll tell us if it's an array or if it's a boolean, and then it'll give us the value of those. So it gives us the type and the data. So var dump is a wonderful tool for debugging, and when you're programming, you'll use this all the time. I typically will add a function real similar to this just into any project I'm working on so that I can quickly see what's going on. Okay, so now that we've done that, just skip down a few lines here, and I'm going to put a comment here, and let's just do math operators. Okay, so we talked a little bit before, and on a math operators are very simple because, well, you know what? Yeah. Let's do math operators first. So basically, you could do, x is equal to 1 plus 3. Okay. So obviously this is an addition operator. This is what an operator is right here. In addition to this, we've already this equal sign here is also an operator. And this is called an assignment operator, because what we're doing is we are assigning this value to this variable. Okay, so then what we could do is just run our DD function right here, and we'll pass into these parens. We're going to pass that x into that. So we're running this variable. We're going to use an assignment operator to set it equal to this. So we have the +1 here. So this should be 4. So let's go ahead and save it. Let's go back to the browser here, and let's just go ahead and navigate to operators. And you can see that it is an integer. So this var dump is telling us that it's an integer, and inside of that it says that it's the number 4. So that right there is what var dump does. Okay, let's go ahead and do another one here, and we could do x equals 455 minus 234, and then we'll do our ddx again. So you can do subtraction, so we can see addition and subtraction, and now you can see this right here is an integer of 221. So these math operators are pretty, you could do x equals 455 divided by 3, and we'll dd x, refresh, and now you can see the answer to this is a float because it has a decimal place, and we can see that you know, there's a lot of decimal points to that. I just put a random math problem, but now you can see that it tells us the data type, the var dump does, and it also gives us whatever that is. Okay, so these, and of course you can do, you can also do x is equal to 12 times 56 dd x, and this is a multiplication operator. So we're talking about the math operators. We have plus, minus, divided, and multiplications here. Oops, did I not save? I did not save. Let me save that file and refresh. And now you can see that it's 672. So that's an integer. Let me just check OBS, make sure everything's going well. Okay. Looking good so far. So let's go ahead now and talk about one more math operator. There's a couple more, but let's just make it the ones that you're going to use most often. So let's do 14 divided by 3, but we don't want to use divided. What we're going to do is use a percent sign, 3. And what this does is, this is a modulus, okay? So this operator is a modulus operator. And what this does is it actually returns the remainder. So it will take 14 divided by 3 and give us the remainder of that. So that won't be an even number, so that it has a remainder of 2. So this is actually 14 divided by 3, so that's going to be 4 with a remainder of 2. Now if I did another one here that we know is going to be, we could do 14 modulus 7, and this modulus will actually be 0. So if we dd x, 14 divided by 7 is 2, but this modulus is not returning the division, it's returning the remainder of the division. So this should be 0 if I did my math correct, and it is. So it's an integer of 0. So those are the math operators that you'll use most commonly. Now modulus, a lot of people don't use modulus that often, but modulus can be great for finding out if something is like divisible by 2. So if it's an even number or something like that, you might find yourself using it for that. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here a little bit further. So those are our math operators. We have addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and modulus operators. And then the single equal is called an assignment operator. So let's go ahead now and just look at a few other operators. Again, let's just do assignment operators. Now assignment operators, we already looked at one, so the most basic is just an equal sign. So we could say x is equal to 223. We could dump x, var dump x, and we just see that that's an integer of 233. So this is an assignment operator, and what it does is it assigns whatever's on the right to whatever's on the left. So this 233 gets assigned to this variable. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Now there's some other really cool assignment operators. We can actually do some math and assign at the same time. So if you remember in the last video, we had this example where we said x is equal to x plus 1. So there's a better way to write this, and that would be, you could do x plus equals 1 like this. Or you could say 3 or whatever you want. Actually, in my example yesterday, we did plus 10 for my age for a decade. So we could do that. So right here, I'm going to set x equal to 20. And then right here, we'll do plus equals 10. And we'll dump that to the screen here just to show what that does. So this is the same as writing x is equal to x plus 10. Okay, so this right here is equal to this. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at that, and you can see that that is 30. So again, that's 20, because this is going to be 20 right here, and it's going to set it plus equal to 10 more. Okay, so what's really cool about that is you can also do the opposite of that. You can say x minus equals 10, and that is the same as saying x equals to x minus 10. So now if we dump that, what's up with my, there we go. If we dump that to the screen now, this should be 20 again. And it is. So you can do the same thing with multiplication and modulus. So basically these assignment operators, you can modify them, say, so plus equal 10. I'll show you another really cool one. Well, let's continue on with the arithmetic assignment ones. So you could do x, you could do multiply equals. So we can say 2, and then we could dump that. And this should be 40, I believe. Yep, 40. The other one, you could also do the division, x divided by equal 2. And this should be back to 20 now. And there we go. So that's the division, and then we could also do modulus. So x modulus equals, and let's divide this by 3. And then we will dump that to the screen. And there we go. The remainder is 2. So now x is going to be equal to 2, because this sets it equal to x. And so in this case, we had 20 here. We divided 20 by 3, which would be 18. Okay. And then we had a leftover, a remainder of 2. So now when we get here, x is equal to 2. So that's pretty cool. So these are assignment operators. You can have just a regular equals, so it sets it equal to it. You can do addition, subtraction, multiplication. So this is just kind of a shorthand way of writing some of the more, you could do this, or you could just do this, right? So there's also increment. So let's do increment and decrement operators. And I'm going to set x back to equal to 10 here, just to get started. And then what we could do is you could do x plus plus. And actually, you know what we'll do is we're just going to dump and die, or just dump x plus plus. And let's see what that does. It's 10. Why is it 10? Well, what's happening when you use an increment operator like this, it returns x, and then what it's going to do is add 1. Oops. It's going to add 1 to x. So if right below that we dump and die x again, it should be 11. So the first time it dumps it, this is going to be 10, because that's what we set to previously. And then it's going to add 1 to it, and then when we dump it here, it's going to be 11. And so we'll see we have our 10, and then we dumped again, and we have 11. This is extremely useful when we get to talking about loops, and you want to do something inside of a loop, and each time you do it, you want to increment it by 1. This sort of syntax is really good. Now, if you wanted to dump it out, if you wanted to add 1 and then return x, you could do the same thing, where you could do plus plus x, and what that does is adds 1 to x and then returns x. So this now should be 12. So let's just put a comment here and say this is 11, this is 10, and then this one right here should actually be, oops, 12. So let's refresh now and see what happens. Yep, so we have 10, 11, 12. So this is the same as this, except for what it returns. This x is returned first, and then it adds 1 to the value in memory. And then this one, it does the opposite. It adds 1 to it and then returns it. Okay, so you have that, and then you have the exact same thing with decrements. So you can decrement things by 1. So then let's go ahead and do that. We could do dd, and we can do minus minus x, and so this should be 11. And there we go, that's 11. And so let's do another one here. So then what we could do is we could do dd, and we could do x minus minus. Now this should also print 11 to the screen because it returns it first and then subtracts 1 from it. So see, we have another 11 there. But on the very next line, if we just dump x again without changing it, this is actually going to be 10, because on this line we subtracted 1 from it, and then we're just using it here. So now that's going to be equal to 10. So I hope that makes sense. It's a little confusing at first, but the order of these matter. It's basically going to return the value, then add 1 to it, or add 1 to it and then return the value. Okay, and then you do the same thing for subtraction. Okay, so that's decrement by 1, increment by 1, but depending on where you put the pluses and the minuses, it either adds it after it returns it or before. So depending on what you're trying to do in your code, just keep in mind that you can do all of those variations of increment and decrement. Next, I want to show you some operators that are super useful. Now these are called comparison operators, and these comparison operators all return a Boolean. Now you remember how I told you that you're going to be able to make decisions whether something is true or false, and Booleans return true or false. That's what a Boolean is. And so if we have comparison operators, what we're doing is we're checking if something is like, for example, we could do let's just do x is equal to, and what we want to do is we say x is equal to 45 equal to 56. Okay, now this right here is the first comparison operator. What this does is it checks to see if the left side is equal to the right side of the operator. So is 45 equal to 56? No, it's not. So this should return false. Okay, so let's go ahead and dump that just to see. Now what we should see on the screen when we refresh is that we have a Boolean, like I told you, and the value of that Boolean is false. Okay, and again, if we would say, hey, is x, we'll set x equal to, and we're saying is 45 equal to 45? And actually, let's do this. Let's do a string here. So is 45, the integer, equal to 45, the string? Interestingly enough, with PHP and most programming languages, this is going to return true. Okay, so if we dump that to the screen now, we have a Boolean of true. Okay, so this 45, this operator is equal to the string. Now, there's another operator, and this is what's called an identical comparison operator. And what we do here is we say, hey, I want to know, is 45 exactly identical to the string of 45? This will return false. And the reason that this is going to return false is because with the triple equals, the double equals is just saying, hey, is 45 equal to 45? Yes, they're close enough. These are the same, but they're not the same type. The third, when you use a triple, it's going to check if these two are equal, but it's going to also check that the data type is the same. So 45 is equal to 45, but is an integer the same thing as a string? No, it's not. So this is going to return, oops, false. Okay, so we should get, when we look through here, we should get, and I forgot my semicolon here. So we should get, when we look at our dumps here for our comparison operators so far, we should get false, true, false. So let's go now and refresh and see if that's true. Yep, we got false, true, false. So with the double, it's just checking kind of loosely. Is 45 equal to 45? Yep. But they don't have to necessarily be the same data type. So the string of 45 is loosely equal to the integer of 45. And that could be the same thing if it were, say, 45. Is 45 equal to 45.0? Yes. But this would return true. However, if we said, is 45 equal to 45.0, this would return false because this is an integer and this is a float or a double. But let's not take my word for it because I'm actually only partially 99% sure of that. So let's just see what PHP does there. Let's see, is 45 triple equals the same as 45.0? And then we're going to dump that. And I expect that this is going to be false. Let's see if I'm right. I could be wrong about that. Oh, it is false. So that's what I was expecting, because this right here, as soon as you add a decimal, even though mathematically these are equal, this is actually checking type. So this is saying, hey, this is a float and this is an integer, so they're not the same. But if I got rid of that third equal sign, that will return true because now 45 is equal to 45.0. So I hope you understand the difference between these comparison operators, just to check if things are equal or not. Double equal is going to say, hey, is it equal? Roughly, yes. And then the triple equals are going to check the data type. So in the last video, we talked about data types. It's going to make sure that the data types are the same as well. So that's very useful information. Okay, I'm going to get rid of these here. All right. There's a few more comparison operators that we can look at. And what if we want to know if something is not equal? So we can do something like this. We could say x is equal to, and let's use a string. I want to make sure that, let's say we have the first name Curtis. I want to make sure that Curtis is not equal to Tony. Okay? So this right here, this is an assignment operator. Instead of checking whether something is equal, if you use the exclamation equal, this is going to check if this side is not equal to this side. So this is actually going to return, what do you think it'll return? This will return true. Okay, and it's a little weird, but keep in mind we're checking that we just want to know, is it not equal? Okay, so if we dump that out right there, so this returns true. Okay, and that's what we expected to happen because Curtis, the string of Curtis, is not equal to the string of Tony. Okay, we can also do the same thing with, we can do x, and we can do the triple equal idea with this as well. So we could say, hey, I want to make sure that 45 does not equal 45.0. Okay, this right here is actually going to return true as well. So let's try that. Oops, I didn't actually var dump that to the screen. So let's do that. Because those are not equal. So you're checking, you're asking, are these not equal? And they're not equal, so it's going to return true. Okay, so that's what the exclamation equals do. So you have the exclamation equals or the double equals and triple equals, okay? And this triple equals checks type, and this with the exclamation and then double equal, this also checks type. This right here with just exclamation equal, this does not check type, okay? So right here, let's do one more example. Let's say x is 45 not equal to 45.0. Now this, I suspect, is going to return false. So let's go ahead and dump that and verify my suspicion there. And there we go, that is false. Because we're doing just we're not checking type, so these two are equal. Remember when we did this check up here where we said, hey, is 45 equal to 45.0? Well, they are equal because we didn't do a triple equals like that. Okay, we did the double. We didn't do the identical equal. Oops, you would only do a double like that. So this right here would be true. This returns false because it's not checking type. Okay, it's not checking that the two data types on the left and right are the same. So I know this is a little bit confusing, but later what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a lot of things like if statements, and if statements have to evaluate to true or false. And it's basically going to say, hey, if Curtis does not equal Tony, then do something else. Okay, so that's the kind of the logic, and we're going to be doing lots of these comparison operators. I'm going to show you another comparison operator that you can do, and you can do greater than. So x is equal to, and we could say, hey, is 23 greater than 34? So this right here is going to evaluate, because 23 is not, this is actually going to be false. Okay, this will return false. So let's go ahead and dump that just to show you that that works. Okay, so now that's false. Let me just make sure you guys can still see on, okay, still looking good. You can also do x equals, and then now what we can do is we can say, hey, is 23 greater than 23? This will also be false because 23 is not greater than 23. However, another operator we can do greater than or equal to, and then this is going to return true. So if 23 is greater than or equal to 23, well, it's not greater than, but it is equal to, so this will return true. You can do 23 less than 34? This is true. And then you could do is 23 less than or equal to 23? This is also true, because 23 is not less than 23, however, it is equal to 23. Let's see. I think that's all the operators that I want to kind of go over for now, except for I want to do one more. Actually, there's two more things I want to show you with operators, and then we'll call it quits for now. There are more. I'm not going over 100% of all of them, but we are going over a lot of them. But I just want to kind of go over the most common ones so that we can get started with programming and using these operators. Now, I know that what you're thinking, like this, I'm moving kind of fast, and these operators may or may not be making sense to you. Just understand that most of these comparison operators are going to return a Boolean. So they're going to say, hey, they're going to evaluate to true or false. And then the other operators are going to do some sort of an assignment, or they're going to do some sort of arithmetic. Okay, so you have math operators or arithmetic operators. You have assignment operators. You have increment and decrement. And then we have these comparison. So let's go ahead and look at another type of operator, and these are called logical. Whoa, logical operators. Okay, let me scroll up here. Now these what you can do is, let's see. What I'm going to do is just put this in this DD, and what we could do here is we could say, hey, I want to make sure that 23 is less than 34, and I want to make sure that 23 is not equal to 34. Okay, now what's going to happen here, this is actually going to return true. Now what we're doing here is we're evaluating that multiple things are going to be true. So this right here is the double ampersand, means that this side has to be true and this side has to be true. Now you can also go on and do as many of those as you want and just keep adding, and it's going to make sure that everything in this is all true. So this will be true. So let's just go ahead and look at that. So that's true. And then let's look at another one. So if I did 23, I want to make sure that 23 is less than 21, and I want to make sure that 23 is not equal to 21. Now in this case, this is going to return false. This is going to return false because this right here is false, and this on this side of it is true. So this is true, this is false, but we have this ampersand. We're saying, hey, I want to make sure that this evaluates to true and this evaluates to true, but they both don't equal true, so we're going to get false here. So if I save and refresh the page, yep, you can see that we have false. Another type of operator we could do is an OR. So let's say I want to make sure that 23 is less than 21, or, and that use a double pipe for or, I want to say 23 is less than 21, or I want to make sure that 1 is equal to 1. Okay, so this one here, even though this side evaluates to false, this side will evaluate to true, so this is going to be true because we are only checking for or here. I just want to make sure that this is true or this is true. I don't care if both of them are true. Okay, so if I refresh, now we get true. If we did something like, hey, I want to see if 23 is less than 21, or I want to know that 23 is the same as 21. This right here is going to be false because neither one of these evaluate to true. So 23 is not less than 21, and 23 is not equal to 21. So our OR here, neither one of these are going to return true, and so this is going to evaluate to false as a whole statement. And you can see that it does evaluate to false. All right, the last thing that I kind of wanted to show you is we can do string operators, and it's just really one that I want to show you. So let's say we had a string of name, and my name is going to be equal to Curtis. All right, and if I dump that to the screen, the var dump is going to show that it's a string with 6 characters, and the value of that string is Curtis. So that's how var dumps work with strings. So let me just make sure you guys can see me still on OBS. Yep, looking good. But the string operator that I want to show you is what we could do is we could then say, hey, I want to add the last name to this. So I could say name is equal to name. And remember we had the concatenation. I want to put their middle initial there. So I'm going to concatenate on the middle initial. And now if I So this right here, this period, is when you're doing this with a string, this is going to concatenate or add this to this. Okay, so let's see what that gives us. So see, now it's a string that's 8 characters, and it's Curtis space D. So that's my middle initial. But what if I wanted to do, I'm going to show you one more here. And just like we had the kind of shorthand notation up here with the plus equals, we can actually do the same thing with strings. And I can say, hey, I want to add my last name, so it's concatenate equal. So period equal, and I'm going to add a space and then parham. And now if I dump the name to the screen, you should get Curtis D parham. So we have Curtis D was already there, and then we did the dot equals, and we added the space and parham. So now the string is 15 characters long, and the string is equal to Curtis D parham. So that is concatenation, and these are called string operators. So we have just the concatenate, and then we have the concatenate equal. So this right here is essentially the exact same thing as saying name is equal to name concatenate space parham. Okay, these two things are equivalent, but this is just a much nicer way to write this. Name dot equals space parham. Okay, so this is shorter, kind of a shorthand way of writing this. Okay, they're the same thing. All right, so I think that's it for operators. If you're a little lost right now, try to rewatch it. I know I moved a little bit quick. However, we're going to be using these so much throughout the course that you're going to pick up on them. And I just wanted to kind of show you what was available. Basically, an operator is just some sort of little symbol that does something, and they either check by comparison, they can increment or decrement, they can do arithmetic, they can, or these are assignments, and these are arithmetics. Don't worry too much yet about this. This is kind of cryptic for you right now. I just wanted to make our lives a little easier. But basically, this is how you create reusable code. It's called a function. And I'm going to teach you more about functions later, but then we can use it later like this. So that was just a quick way for us to not have to do some weird like echo break, echo X. We just did it all in one line. And we use this right here. This is what you should pick up on, is this var dump. This is very useful for debugging to show you exactly what a variable is and also what data type it is. So you'll use var dump a lot during development, and you'll see us use it more in the course. So again, repetition will put this into your brain, and you won't worry too much about memorizing a lot of it, because it's just going to be natural and second nature to you. I know right now it's not. But these are operators, and I had to show you these before we moved on to the next thing. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.